The survey ship Ethelstan hung in the silent void, a speck of polished metal against the swirling nebula known as the Dragon's Maw. Inside, Commander Anya Sharma floated before the main viewport, her dark eyes reflecting the cosmic storm. Her crew of 12 was the best humanity had to offer, calm, professional, and utterly bored. The Maw had been scanned for years. It was beautiful but inert, a nursery of stars with no planets, no minerals, no signs of life. Their mission was a final, routine mapping before the sector was declared empty and open for hyperlane routing. It was Ensign Kaido Tanaka, monitoring long-range resonance scanners, who first noticed the anomaly. "Commander, I'm getting a structured signal from within the nebula's densest gas cloud. It's rhythmic, not a natural stellar pulse." The bridge came to life. The signal was a low, resonant hum, a vibration that seemed to sync with the nebula's own light patterns. Following it led them deeper into the colorful tendrils of gas than any probe had ventured. And there, hidden in a cocoon of shimmering dust, they found it. It was not a ship. It was a creature. Magnificent and terrifying, it dwarfed the Ethelstan. Its form was serpentine, covered not in scales, but in what looked like interlocking plates of crystalline bone that refracted the nebula's light into rainbows. Two vast, leathery wings, torn and scarred, were folded against its body. A long, elegant neck ended in a tapered head, currently resting on what appeared to be its front claws. It was curled around itself, motionless, adrift in a cloud. The rhythmic hum was the slow, labored beat of its heart, a vibration transmitted through the very particles of space. "My God," whispered Dr. Eris Thorne, the xenobiologist. "It's a vacuum-dwelling organism, a true void dragon." Panic threatened, but protocol held. They were scientists first. Scans revealed the truth. The creature was dying. Its energy signatures were faint, its body core temperature dropping. A deep, crystallized wound was visible on its flank, leaking a viscous, luminous fluid that froze into sparkling motes. It wasn't sleeping. It was in a death throes coma. The debate was tense. First contact protocols were clear. Observe, do not interfere. But watching a being of such majesty die passively felt monstrous. Anya made the call. "We have a wounded entity. We are humanity, and we do not leave the suffering to die alone if we can help. We attempt contact. Non invasive. Let know it's not alone." They used the ship's external lights, pulsing them in simple mathematical sequences, prime numbers, the Fibonacci series. No response. They broadcasted the rhythmic hum back at it, amplified, slightly. For hours, nothing. Then, as they were about to withdraw, a single, massive golden eye slid open. The intelligence in that gaze was staggering. It was ancient, weary, and held a depth of pain that was almost human. It looked directly at the Ethelstan, and the crew felt it a pressure in their minds, not hostile, but probing. The hum from the creature changed, modulating into a complex, sorrowful song that their computers could not decode, but that brought an inexplicable lump to Anya's throat. It was Dr. Thorne who suggested the next step, drawing on old Earth legends. The wound, that leaking fluid. Our scans show it's rich in bioelectrical energy and complex proteins. It's not just blood, it's a conduit. The legends always spoke of dragons guarding treasures. What if their greatest treasure is their connection? What if those tears are how they communicate everything? Memory, emotion, state of being. The creature, sensing their focused attention, seemed to gather the last of its strength. With a deliberate, pain-filled motion, it extended one colossal claw towards their ship. From a gland near the wound, a larger, concentrated droplet of the luminous fluid, a dragon's tear, welled up and detached, floating slowly towards the Ethelstan. "It's offering it to us," Anya breathed. "It's a gift, or a last will." Against every safety regulation, they extended a collection arm. The moment the containment field enveloped the tear, measuring the size of a small rover, the connection exploded into being. It wasn't language. It was a flood. Images, sensations, emotions washed over the entire crew simultaneously. They saw star systems being born from the dragon's perspective, felt the joy of riding solar winds, knew the profound loneliness of species that was the last of its kind. They felt the searing pain of the wound, not from a natural cause, but from a weapon. A sleek, predatory vessel of unknown design, attacking without provocation, seeking to harvest the dragon's crystalline hide. They felt its desperate flight, its hiding, its fading hope. And they felt its gratitude, warm and immense, for the small, bright visitors who did not flee, who stayed and bore witness. The link lasted only seconds before the dragon's eye closed again, its energy spent. But on the Ethelstan, the humans were left gasping, tears streaming down their faces, forever changed. They had not just found an alien. They had shared a soul. And in that shared experience, they understood two things. The dragon, whom they now instinctively thought of as Kavrath, was not just dying from its wound. It was dying of loneliness, its song unheard for millennia. And the ones who had hurt it were still out there. Anya wiped her tears, her face set in grim determination. The mission was over. A new one had begun. "We are not observers anymore," she said, her voice firm in the silent bridge. "We are witnesses, and we're going to save our friend." The Ethelstan became a hospital ship. The dragon's tear, held in a specially modified lab bay, pulsed with a soft light, serving as a steady, gentle psychic bridge to the slumbering Kavrath. Through it, they learned not with words but with concepts. They understood its biology was symbiotic with the nebula's unique particles. It fed on stellar radiation and the cosmic dust. The crystalline plates were a living repository, storing energy and memory. Dr. Thorne and the engineering team, guided by intuitive flashes from the tier link, devised a plan. The wound was festering with exotic radiation from the attacker's weapon, preventing regeneration. They needed to debride it, then jumpstart Kavrath's own healing processes. The problem was scale and environment. There were mites trying to perform surgery on a whale in the vacuum of space. Human ingenuity, sparked by empathy, found a way. Using ship's fabricators, they created massive canisters of a reactive gel designed to bond with and neutralize the poisonous radiation. Suited-up crews in construction exoskeletons, their minds steadied by the calming presence flowing from the tier, ventured out. They flew across the gulf between ship and dragon, landing on the crystalline hide that felt like warm, living stone. The sheer scale was humbling. Working in shifts, they sprayed the gel into the wound. Kavrath did not stir, but through the link, they felt a lessening of its pain, a cooling of the feverish burn. The second part was energy. Kavrath was too weak to feed, so the Ethelstan repositioned itself, using its navigational lasers, not as weapons, but as precise transfusion beams. It focused raw energy from its reactor onto the dragon's primary energy absorption nodes, located along its spine. It was a risky drain on their own power, but they rationed and managed. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the dragon's heart hum grew stronger. The luminous leak from its wound ceased, replaced by a slow, healthy shimmer of new growth. The crew celebrated small victories, a brighter pulse from the tier, a slight shift in the great body's position. It was during this delicate nursing that the hunters returned. Sensor screamed. 3 vessels, angular and silent as sharks, dropped out of a distorted jump at the nebula's edge. They matched the predatory ship from Kavrath's memories perfectly, the Varaxi. Scans showed their technology was formidable, their hulls lined with what looked like harvested crystalline plates. They were poachers, galactic trophy hunters of the most advanced and rare life forms. The Ethelstan was a survey vessel, armed only with light point defense lasers. A direct fight was suicide. The Varaxi ships moved in, scanning. They had found their wounded prey again, and now a curious new trinket was hovering near it. Anya faced a nightmare choice. They could run, using the nebula's interference to hide. But That would leave the still helpless Kovrath to its fate. They could fight and die pointlessly, or they could try something utterly, stupidly human. They think in terms of prey and predator, Anya said, an idea forming as she looked at the psychic link data. They see Kovrath as a thing, a resource. They don't understand connection. Let's show them. She ordered the ship to power down all non-essential systems, including weapons. They flooded their own comms with a powerful, repeating broadcast on all frequencies. It wasn't a threat or a plea. It was the raw, unfiltered emotional data stream from their initial link with Kovrath. The awe, the sorrow, the shared memory of the attack, the gratitude, the profound sense of kinship. They sent out the dragon's tears song, mixed with human heartbeats. To the Varaxi, it was psychic and electromagnetic noise, a bizarre and illogical action. One of their ships fired a warning shot that grazed the Ethelstan's shield. The crew braced for death. But Kovrath felt it, the sharp, familiar aggression of its enemies. And it felt the fear, the defiant solidarity of its small friends. The tear in the lab bay flared like a star. Outside, the massive golden eye snapped open. This time, it was not weary. It blazed with fury and protective fire. A deep, resonant roar, tangible as a shockwave in the nebula dust, echoed through space. Kovrath moved, uncoiling with a speed that belied its size. It was weak but no longer dying. It placed its colossal body between the Ethelstan and the Varaxi, its wings spreading to create a living shield. The Varaxi paused, confused. This was not in their calculations. The prey was supposed to be passive. It was defending another creature. It made no tactical sense. In that moment of confusion, Kovrath acted. It drew in a deep breath of nebula gases and expelled not fire, but a concentrated beam of coherent light and charged particles refined by its crystalline biology. It was a weapon born of the cosmos itself. It struck the lead Varaxi ship, not destroying it, but shearing off its weapon arrays and scorching its hull. The message was clear. The hunt was over. The balance had changed. The Varaxi, pragmatic cowards at heart when faced with unexpected resistance, retreated. They vanished into their distorted jump drive, leaving the Ethelstan and the dragon in sudden, ringing silence. On the bridge, the crew erupted in cheers that quickly turned to sobs of relief. They had not won a battle. They had transformed one. Anya looked at the vast, protective form of Kovrath now filling their viewport. The dragon turned its head, and its gaze met hers through the glass. The link hummed with a new emotion, fierce, unwavering loyalty. They were no longer just witnesses. They were a pod. They were family. A new rhythm developed within the dragon's maw. The Ethelstan rested in the gentle gravitational eddy created by Kovrath's presence, its hull often bathed in the soft, reflected light from the dragon's healing plates. The creature's recovery accelerated, fueled now by purpose and companionship as much as by the energy transfusions. The connection through the dragon's tear deepened, evolving from overwhelming bursts into a constant, quiet stream of shared consciousness. The crew began to learn the true essence of Kovrath's species. They were not mere animals, but archivists. Each crystalline plate was a living library, storing the history of the cosmic phenomena they witnessed, supernova songs, the magnetic whispers of pulsars, the slow, cold poetry of rogue planets. Kovrath's loneliness was not just personal. It was the loneliness of a chronicler with no one to read the chronicles. In return, the humans shared their own archives. Through the link, they offered Kovrath the symphonies of Beethoven, the equations of Einstein, the stories of thousands of human cultures, epics of loss, love, and rebellion. They showed it images of Earth's oceans, forests, and cities. The dragon consumed it all with a profound, gentle curiosity. Its responses were not art as humans understood it, but beautiful manipulations of the nebula around them, causing gases to swirl in patterns mimicking human music or aligning dust particles to briefly form shapes reminiscent of Earth's landscapes. Ensign Kaido, a gifted linguist and programmer, worked with Dr. Thorne on a staggering project. Using the tier as a bioprocessor, they began constructing a true translation matrix. It wasn't about words, but about concept mapping. They started to build a shared language, one that could blend human symbolic thought with Kavrath's sensory-based memory. The first true, mutually understood word was not spoken aloud. It was a combined feeling picture, the Ethelstan's silhouette next to Kavrath's form, wrapped in a sensation of warmth and safety. It meant pod. It meant us. This idyllic period of convalescence and discovery was shattered by a stark, faster-than-light transmission from human colonial command. It was frantic and grim. The Varaxi were not just poachers on the edge of known space. They were a systemic threat. Their raids had escalated. A human colony on the frontier world of Lyra Prime had gone silent. Scout drones sent to investigate revealed devastation, and Varaxi harvesting ships stripping the planet of a rare bioluminescent algae, and, horrifyingly, of the colonists themselves. The Varaxi viewed all other sentient life as either prey or product. The message was a general distress call and a mobilization order. The Ethelstan was commanded to return immediately to the nearest fleet staging area. They were to provide all data on the Varaxi, especially their combat capabilities. The crew was torn. Their duty to humanity was clear. But leaving Kavrath now felt like a profound betrayal. The dragon, sensing their distress through the link, understood the gravity of the human communication. It shared a new memory, a star map from its ancient travels, pointing to a Varaxi nesting zone, a cluster where their main breeding worlds and shipyards were believed to be. It was a place of great horror in Kavrath's memory, a graveyard of other majestic beings. Anya called a council, every crew member linked in via the tier's gentle field. They felt each other's fear, their resolve, their love for the dragon, and their duty to their own kind. The choice was impossible. It was Kavrath who made the decision for them. Through the newly forged translation matrix, a clear, resonant thought formed in all their minds. It was a complex idea, conveyed with the weight of stars. Apod attectis, apod defended. Your fear is my fear. Your enemy is my enemy. I'm strong again. I will fly with you. The dragon proposed not just helping, but fighting. It would accompany the Ethelstan to Lyra Prime. The logistical challenges were monumental. Kavrath could travel faster than light, not by technology, but by folding through dense stellar nebulae, using them as natural jump points. The Ethelstan could not follow. The solution was as daring as it was intimate. The engineers, guided by Kavrath's own understanding of its biology, designed a series of massive harness points. The dragon would carry the Ethelstan on its back, nestled between its wings, like a remora on a whale. The ship would be encased in a protective energy field generated by Kavrath's own crystalline plates. It was an act of ultimate trust. The human ship would be physically vulnerable, and Kavrath would be burdened in flight. As the final clamps engaged and the dragon's field shimmered around the Ethelstan, the two beings, technological and biological, became one entity. The crew felt the immense power thrumming through Kavrath's body, the flex of cosmic muscles readying for a leap. With a mighty beat of wings that stirred the nebula into a storm, Kavrath leaped not into space, but through it. The dragon's maw twisted around them, and they entered a tunnel of light and color, a natural wormhole navigated by the dragon's innate senses. The journey to Lyra Prime, which would have taken the Ethelstan weeks, took hours. They emerged into the silence of the Lyra system to a scene of nightmare. Varaxi harvesters, like metallic insects, covered the planet. Human escape pods were being tractored into cargo holds. And, in low orbit, a Varaxi dreadnought, a monstrosity of spines and harvested hides, presided over the slaughter. The Varaxi detected them immediately. But what they saw on their scanners defied logic. Their former wounded prey, now radiant with health, with a human ship symbiotically attached, radiating a unified energy signature they had never encountered. It was not a ship and an animal. It was something new, and it was angry. The Varaxi dreadnought turned its predatory bulk towards the new arrivals, its weapon ports glowing with a sickly green energy. Standard tactics meant nothing here. Anya, her mind fused with Kavrath's through the tier link, did not think like a ship commander. She thought like Paradragon. Kavrath, the Nebula Fold. Can you do it here? In this system, she thought /sent. The response was a surge of affirmative power, mixed with a tactical insight. The Lyra system had a weak, but usable gas giant's exosphere. It was enough. The dreadnought fired. Lances of disintegrating energy shot towards them. Kavrath did not dodge. It folded its wings tighter around the Ethelstan and took the hit on its crystalline chest plate. The impact was thunderous, even inside the field, and the crew felt a wave of translated pain, sharp, hot, but manageable. Kavrath's plates absorbed and diffused the energy, flaring brilliantly. It was a shield no human alloy could ever be. Then, Kavrath moved. It didn't fly in a straight line. It executed a spiral dive towards the gas giant, Lyra B, the Varaxi ships giving chase. The Harvester vessels were faster, nipping at their flank with smaller weapons. Kavrath's tail, tipped with a massive, blade-like crystalline spur, lashed out in a precise arc. It didn't aim to destroy, but to disable, shearing through engine nacelles and weapon arrays with the effortless grace of a sculptor. The crippled Harvester spun away, useless. The dreadnought, larger and more cautious, hung back, bombarding them with long-range fire. Kavrath weaved through the barrage, its movements now guided by a fusion of human tactical algorithms and ancient predatory instinct. They reached the upper atmosphere of the gas giant, a soup of turbulent hydrogen and helium. Now, on your projectid, Kavrath roared, a sound that vibrated through the ship and the very atmosphere. It channeled its energy not outwards but inwards, twisting the local space-time fabric. The Ethelstan's sensors went wild. To the pursuing dreadnought, Kavrath, and its human cargo seemed to shatter into 1,000 shards of light and then vanish. An instant later, they rematerialized above the dreadnought, having used the gas giant's atmosphere to perform a microfold jump. They were now in the blind spot, directly over the command spire. The Varaxi were disoriented, scanners scrambled by the spatial distortion. The link, everyone, focus on the memory of the attack, on Kavrath. The pain, the betrayal. Send it all. On your commandit. The entire crew, hearts united in purpose, focused their consciousness through the dragon's tear. They amplified and directed the raw, painful memory of Kavrath's wounding, the vicious, greedy violence of the Varaxi's first strike. This wasn't a data packet. It was an empathic missile, launched directly through the tier's link and boosted by Kavrath's own natural psychic abilities. On the Dreadnought's bridge, the Varaxi command crew, beings who understood only hierarchy, predation, and cold material gain, were hit by a tsunami of foreign sensation. They felt, for the first time, the agony they inflicted. They felt the loneliness of a last of its kind, the terror of the humans on Lyra Prime, the righteous fury of a protector. It was a psychic scream of conscience they had no defense against. Screens flickered as their neural interfaces overloaded. Commanders clawed at their heads, incapacitated by a weapon they could not comprehend, shared suffering. With the dreadnought momentarily helpless, Kavrath struck. It did not fire its breath weapon. It dove, and, with its powerful claws, ripped the main weapon array clean off the dreadnought's hull. Then, used its tail to smash the primary engine block. The monster ship was left dead in space, drifting and harmless. The remaining Harvester ships, seeing their mothership disabled and their prey transformed into an avenging angel, broke. They scattered, fleeing into hyperspace. Silence returned to Lyra Prime's orbit. Kavrath, panting with exertion but thrumming with victorious energy, gently unfurled its wings. The Ethelstan detached, moving to begin rescue operations for the colonists. The aftermath was a galactic sensation. The human fleet, arriving days later, found a saved colony, a crippled Voraxi dreadnought, and a human survey ship resting in the shadow of a living legend. The story of the dragon's tears spread, not as a weapon, but as a revelation. On the bridge of the human flagship, Anya and a holographic representation of Kavrath, projected via the tier link, stood before the Admiralty. They showed them everything, not just the battle, but the connection, the shared memories, the forged language, the pod. The Admiralty, steeped in realpolitik, saw first a powerful new ally and a terrifying weapon. They began talking about harnessing the link, building dragon ride battalions. Anya shook her head, a sad smile on her face. She gestured to Kavrath hologram. A new, final concept picture flowed through the translators to every person in the room. It was an image of the dragon's maw, with many human ships and several other younger dragons, for Kavrath had shared that it was not the last. It's kind of just been hiding, living, learning, and exploring together. The feeling attached was not of military alliance, but of family, of mutual growth, of wonder. You do not harness a tear, Anya said, voice soft but carrying the weight of the nebula. You cherish it. You do not ride a dragon. You fly with a friend. This is not a weapon. This is a bridge. And we have just taken our first step across. The message went out to all of humanity and to any species listening. The galaxy was not a dark forest of predators and prey. It could be a library, a sanctuary, a pod. All it required was the courage to reach out, to share a memory, to shed a tear for another, and in doing so, to forge a connection that defied all fear. And high above Lyra Prime, Kavrath, the once lonely archivist, sang a new song into the void. It was a song of human laughter, of stars being born, and of a friendship written in the light of a shared nebula. It was a song that promised, you are not alone.